Welcome to the PrinnyCast Roundtable, a weekly show where we talk about the various musings in the worlds of gaming and geekdom from over the last week. For your hosts, I'm Chris. This is Mike.
I don't have a strange quote for today, so all you get to hear is this.
Lovely. And Grover.
Kill all the parasaurs!
And our Resident Evil Etna is directing us through text messages down there, as Randall will be contributing with corrections and info and basically telling us who will be our masters for the next 100 years as we're being used as living batteries. So, it's been the aftermath of E3 for the most part. I've heard a few controversies, but for the most part it was really tame stuff this time.
After the show, I actually went back and I realized that I had missed the Last Guardians preview. So I went back and saw that, and I actually liked it. It looked pretty good, so I actually am looking forward to something from Sony now. So there's that.
Well, I also heard that Nintendo has decided for Star Fox that you will not have to use their controls. There will be a second control that's a lot like the Star Fox 64.
Oh.
Yeah, you don't have to use the gyro.
Thank God. It only took overwhelming outcry to make them stop.
At least they listened.
Yes, at least they listened.
They couldn't just get going.
That's telling me they are changing like other companies. Nintendo is one of the more stubborn, so yes, change is definitely happening. I mean, it isn't like with EA where they're just incompetent dumbasses. Nintendo is just hard-headed. It takes them a while to learn things, but once they learn them, they get really, really good at it. And that's how they've kept themselves going for so long.
I have noticed over about the last 8 or 9 months, take note that that's about the instance of a certain hashtag, but there's a lot of companies that's been paying a lot more attention to the people they're serving. Street Fighter V is going to be having a beta for the first time ever, so they can really nail down the netcode before they release this time. And Nintendo, for the first time ever, had a beta with the Splatoon. They're actually testing more. They're trying to figure out things to make sure they're not so broken upon release, even though I've heard really bad things about Batman Arkham Knight on the PC.
Oh, I've heard some stuff too.
I've seen some really bad things. I watched Cleve play it, and shit went horrible.
So
it's not looking very...
It's not a surprise that Warner has actually pulled the game from shelves, and Steam even said even if they brought it back, if it's not fixed, they will not allow them to sell it on the Steam platform until they know for certain that it's been patched out. So as far as I know, the console versions are fine. I haven't heard any complaints about that, but the PC version is apparently a wreck.
Yes, a humongous wreck.
And then there was the Destiny the Taken King thing, which I don't quite understand how it could have been such an uproar. I think simply because the fact that Bungie fans were already kind of screwed over with the original Destiny as it was, not being quite what it was promised to be. But then there was this whole mess over the collector's edition for a digital and the physical, and they came with different stuff. And that was kind of an issue with players that wanted all of the above. If I bought the physical copy, how come I don't get the goodies that the digital copy have? Why do I have to pay another $80 for something I already have just to get the...
Is that what it was? Because from my understanding, it was that in order to get all that stuff, you had to pay for the base game again.
Oh, that might have been part of it, yeah.
That's what I understood the issue to be.
That's stupid.
And it didn't help that there was, when they were interviewing Luke Smith, who's one of the creators, that there was a sort of a thing about the emotes apparently being worth paying for.
Yeah, he said that if I booted up a demonstration right now, you guys would throw money at the screen.
Yeah, I don't know a game in existence that would make me spend a whole bunch of money on an emote. I'm sorry.
No, I couldn't tell you.
I can't think of one.
But, Bungie they are part of the Activision umbrella now, and Activision does have a bad habit of doing this sort of thing, so I don't know if it's necessarily all Bungie's fault. It's hard to tell anymore, because EA and Activision both are really bad about kind of messing with the companies that they take under their wing. If not outright destroying
them and mauling them and ripping them apart.
In that case, you could say that Microsoft is really good at that too, because just about everybody they bought is gone.
Gone.
Even the ones that succeeded, gone. Anyway, speaking of headlines, I heard Kotaku did something redonkulous.
So Kotaku ran an article claiming that Zeratul was introduced in Heroes of the Storm, and in the article, it mentioned a few missions being released from Legacy of the Void ahead of time to get people interested in buying Legacy of the Void, which is the third and supposedly final installment for StarCraft 2. And in that article, it claimed that Zeratul was mentioned as being a Heroes special character. He was created just for Heroes of the Storm, and that he had no background whatsoever, and that the missions that were going to be releasing for people to get, garner the interest for StarCraft 2 Legacy of the Void was to flesh out the Zeratul character and give him some background.
That is so neat. They made a character in Heroes of the Storm to promote a game that hasn't even been released yet. How about that? That is
Idiots.
my life
idiots.
for ire, man. Irony? I don't know.
Irony.
Yeah, Zeratul was there from the beginning. He's one of the main characters of the StarCraft universe. So somebody not even bothering to Wikipedia the information that they've been handed just goes to prove that so many of these so-called journalists do not know what they're doing. If they don't understand what they're doing, they should not be writing a story on it. And if they understand too well because they're part of the development team or funding team, they shouldn't be writing about it. But anyway.
What can you do besides shake your head and go, it's Kotaku?
Yeah, speaking of Leigh Alexander, Tale of Tales is apparently shutting down their service. They're no longer going to be making video games now. They've made quite a few indie, sort of barely video games. They're more like interactive art than anything else. And they made a game called Sunset, which they, in quotations, called a game for gamers. They were trying to find a market among the mainstream gaming. And in doing this brilliant maneuver, they hired Leigh Alexander to promote the game for them. She was their PR agent. Keep in mind, this is somebody that almost ran Kotaku into the ground, and who just recently started her own website, which I think is probably being entirely funded by herself, because I don't think there's any ad revenue going on there, what I understand. So yeah, this was more of a choosing sides with the wrong people than it was not finding a market. But it wasn't just bad that they failed, they pulled what's been kind of popular in the indie crowd lately, you blame your audience. So they went all psycho on screw you gamers.
Assholes. Blaming your players is usually good. I mean, there are times that you can legitimately blame your players, but most of the time it's a shitty thing.
I mean, when there's a backlash to something, there's something to react to. But this wasn't necessarily a backlash against their product, it was a backlash against how their product was promoted. So, again, when you're taking sides, you're going to have to reap what you sow. And that's kind of what's going on with Kotaku and all the other major news branches, and what's been going on with a lot of the major news networks, because they sided with them too. So there's a lot more people out there starting to see that, hey, ABC and CNN and BBC and MSNBC especially, they're just the opposite end of what Fox is. They're finally understanding this. It's kind of sad it took this before people realized that, but there's just not enough honesty in journalism anymore. And I don't think it's something that can ever be gotten back. And, you know, there's been a lot of people complaining that you cannot have bias taken out of journalism entirely, and I kind of agree with that, because no matter what group you're going to be going to, there's always going to be a certain level of bias. It's just personal preference. It's going to be there. But how you present that, on the other hand, ironically, there is, I probably shouldn't mention them because I cannot remember their name. There is a website devoted to video games that has a humongous Christian slant to it. However, when they score and rate their games, they keep their Christian part as a separate ranking procedure than they do the game part. So in other words, when they ranked Witcher 3, they ranked it as a fantastic video game, unless you're going to find offense or moral issues with certain aspects of the game, like the violence and the nudity, in which case, look at the score. So if there's cussing in something, they'll let you know about it, so you know what kind of game you're getting into. They don't put their bias into their final ranking for the game. And there you go. That's why they're getting applauded by even really secular people, because they are doing it that way.
They are being actual journalists?
Yes. What? And still having their say. You can do both. It is possible.
It's very possible for me to say that, like, as somebody is the dumbest on the face of the earth, but then praise their game. It's amazing. Yeah, something like that. I know that's hard to believe. You say, that person is the biggest piece of scum on the face of the earth. I love their game. Best game ever.
And while we're still on the SJW train a little bit, the new Spider-Man, as we know, is going to get a whole new branch of movies now. Yes, they're rebooting it again, but this time, the company that has the movie rights to Spider-Man, I think it's Fox. Thank you, Randall. They're working with Disney Marvel to include this version of Spider-Man into the major Marvel Cinematic Universe. And they finally decided who they're going to have to play them, Tom Holland. Now, nobody really knows this guy for the most part because he's more British fame, but the thing that is right after this has been named, everybody got all upset because, of course, it's going to be another white Spider-Man. And
oh, God.
I know the new Spider-Man is a half black, half Mexican, or Hispanic, I should say, and I think it would be interesting to see that character, but the majority of people, especially moviegoers, know Spider-Man is the Peter Parker Spider-Man. He's the one with the 40 years of history. That's probably the one you want to start with when you're making a movie franchise.
I was going to say, getting upset over the race of a character that's being portrayed in a movie is racist in and of itself.
And, to further cement this, Stan Lee himself commented that changing established heroes to make them fit somehow into other categories, whether it's changing their gender, or changing their sexuality, Iceman, or changing their color, which that kind of runs the gamut there. You don't have to do that. You can make a lot of fantastic fantastic, creative, new characters, and it can be successful to create new characters for the Marvel Universe. I mean, one of the most popular Batman characters has come out of a cartoon series that was so successful. Harley Quinn was so successful that she's been implemented in every aspect of the Batman universe since. And I understand recently that the Green Arrow TV show, Arrow, the hacker character, I forgot her name, is so popular on there, they're starting to introduce her into the universe too. So there is room to do this with the Marvel Universe. You can make new characters if they're interesting and believable and useful. You don't have to co-opt existing characters with decades of history just to make certain groups happy. And I'm sure they probably jumped all over him for it. I'm sure they did.
Oh yeah, of course they did. I saw it on the one website. They went ballistic.
Of course.
They're poor fifis. You don't agree with what they say. You're sexist, racist, and whatever they else can think of you're against.
Mm-hmm. If you disagree, you're a hate monger.
Oh,
so we're going to hate you for it.
Further. According to them, if you disagree, you're a terrorist.
Yeah. Which is ironic because some of those people were the people that were praising ISIS. Yep. Mm-hmm. That's how you do it, John McIntosh. That's how you do it.
You guys, if you were part of the Nintendo Club and you had some coins left, you've only got about 5 more days to spend them before they are gone forever.
Use them up.
So use them up. So on Wednesday, just get them used. I've got myself like 390 coins to use up, so I don't know what I'll use it on. I really have considered, and you're probably going to have to talk me out of this because I didn't much care for the Battle Network series, but it's been going up on Virtual Console and I'm tempted to buy it just because it's Mega Man related.
Sure. Did you ever even beat any of them? I think you said you beat the first one.
I beat the first one. I really enjoyed the second one. I really did. I liked the second one a lot. I didn't much care for the first one. I struggled to finish it, but I wanted to keep going with the series, and I don't know why I never played the third one. I think I started struggling enjoying my time with it again. Mm. I don't know what it was about the second one that made me like it, but I really liked it. The formula doesn't change that drastically.
I don't know too much about the series. I do know by the time they got to the fourth one, that's the one where they did the 2 cartridges like they do with Pokemon every time.
Yeah, they started that with the third one. The third one I think the third one was red and white, and then they started doing team names. Mm-hmm. Or no, it was blue. Was it blue and white? Blue and red? It was blue and something, and then I think Team
Protoman and Team
Protoman and Team what was the other one? Team General or something like that. It was the General dude.
Yeah.
I don't remember his name.
Then they went to Star Force.
Yeah. Well, no, I don't know what they did because there was a 6th one, but I don't know what they did for the 6th one. And then yes, there was Star Force. I do own that one as well, but I own that one on the Nintendo DS. I never got rid of it like I did the Battle Network games.
Now that's the weird one that's kind of like that one series of Digimon where it's not that the characters are Navis inside the computer anymore. The human and the Navi actually merge into a superhero, basically, wasn't it?
I honestly couldn't. It's been so long since I played. I think they're still considered Navis. They're still programs.
It's like this cloud with eyes or something like that, and that they fuse together into a fighting machine.
I think so. I think it is that they become one, yeah, like Voltron uniting or whatever. Mm-hmm. Voltron.
I mostly remember it because of the anime series that was based on it. That was obviously made simply to sell games. See, that mindset isn't dead. The 80s are still around, kind of.
Hot Tub Time Machine.
Yeah.
Reagan and AIDS!
Whoa. And speaking of which, what is your thoughts on the Mega Man Legacy Collection? That was kind of mine.
Wow, really?
Oh, wow. That burned. Whoa. Hold on. Let me get a drink.
I thought you just had one.
Yeah, you asked me that in the middle of doing it, so I tried to do it really quick, and I was like, oh my god, yeah, that burned my throat so bad. Oh man, I totally did that wrong. Okay. So, I have the Mega Man Anniversary Collection, and I have the Mega Man X Collection. Oh, and I have the Mega Man Zero Collection. That pretty much covers the main Mega Man universe. The absolutely only reason I have considered getting it is because of the challenge modes in it. You know how I am. I have purposely made Mega Man hard on myself. It was where I was going through Mega Man X, the original on Super Nintendo, and I was refusing to pick up any upgrade that I couldn't get with just the dash boots. So I never got the charge cannon until Zero died at the end of the game. I never got the helmet upgrade. I never got the body upgrade, and I got almost no E-tanks and almost no heart tanks because you just can't get that many of them. Mm-hmm. So I did that playthrough, and I completed it, and it actually was kind of tough, just because of how much you get from the body armor, how much damage reduction you get from that. I didn't realize it was that much until you get to the end of the game and you're dying, and you don't have a lot of heart tanks, so it's like,
turns into I want to be the guy all of a sudden.
Yeah.
One hit kills.
Pretty much. I mean, not not quite that extreme, but yeah, it's not too far off. So I love my Mega Man games to be hard. I don't like cheap deaths. I really, really didn't like that about the Zero series because it kind of became a memorization game rather than a take your abilities and apply it to the situation to survive game, which is what, in my mind, the original was. It wasn't so much memorization until you get to Mega Man 8 with all that stupid sledding and all that crap. I hated that stage.
Well, 7 and 8 and soccer are not included, which I thought really should have been, but they're just keeping it the first 6.
Right,
NES
the first
only.
6 for the NES. It's not going to be that expensive, so I'll be perfectly honest, I'm probably going to buy it. I'm a sucker for anything Mega Man, so I will probably buy it.
I saw the Capcom stream when they were talking about this and showing some of the stuff that it was doing. They went to absurd lengths to emulate the Mega Man experience exactly as it was on the game. That means all of the slowdown, all of the flicker is going to remain. It's going to be as perfect to the NES as it possibly could be, which, trust me, when it comes to emulation, all of that stuff, they actually had to work toward doing.
I really do appreciate that kind of effort being put into something like that, but I really don't know that it's necessary.
I guess if you're doing like speedruns or something, that you could play it on this version and still be considered that you're playing the original. But anybody else, I think, would want that stuff out. So I hope they at least have a switch or something so you can turn that on and off, but I don't think so.
It won't bother me either way. It's not necessary in my mind to artificially put that stuff in there because people are going to get it anyway, right? So it's nice that they're putting in the effort to try and make it as true to the original as possible, but it's not necessary for me to enjoy the game to have all this other stuff that they're having to artificially put in there that is really more of a nostalgia factor than anything else. They're trying to do right by the fans, and that is appreciated. I personally don't think it's necessary.
I think we're boring Grover with all this Mega Man talk.
Huh? Oh, well, I started watching videos.
Oh.